Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Well, hello. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Pets Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sam, and, well, Aizen somewhere, probably, napping or something like that, and, he needs a good day off. So, that being said, we're going to talk about something that is a little bit off, and that is inanimate pets, if that makes any sense at all. So, when I say this, I'm talking about things like the pet rock, the chia pet, what else? A pet ham, for goodness sake. And let's see, dolls for kids, most definitely. And, well, chow, which you guys will learn more about it when I start talking on that. So, let's get started, and I think you'll be a little baffled. Now, I really want to talk about this pet rock thing because, well, apparently it was kind of big in the 70s, and I think maybe it had a return in the 2000s or early 2010s, and that, well, is the pet rock. So, all I have to say here, from my own perspective, is I'm not sure I'd like the idea of carrying a rock around. I mean, in reality, this man named Gary Dahl, he actually was having a conversation with some friends, and these friends were complaining about, things that they would have to do with their pets or things that their pet had done and all of those kinds of frustrations, which is very reasonable. So, Mr. Dahl actually decided, well, I'm serious about this pet rock thing. So why not just make it happen? So he did actually draft an instruction manual for this pet rock that he wanted to sell. And it was actually full of puns and jokes, wordplay, that kind of stuff. So it was very clear it was a joke. And just a lot of the times in this manual, you would see it referred to a pet rock as an actual pet. And, well, I suppose that if you can make money that way, that's pretty awesome. Apparently his biggest expense was the die cutting and manufacture of the boxes that he would put his pet rocks in. And it only cost a cent each around this time period, and the straw that he was using to pack into these little boxes, well, it was pretty much free. So for initial booklets, he had a printing job for a client, and he just kind of tacked his pet rock booklets onto the main job, which kind of shady, but I mean, he's definitely finding ways to pinch his pennies. And I just kind of am surprised by how all of this kind of came to be. Who is serious about a pet rock? And who would buy that? Surely, based on the booklet, I'm guessing it was a gag gift, initially. But somehow it got into some really, really big audiences here. And, seriously, he has, the manual called The Care and Training of Your Pet Rock. And it was basically showing, like, how do you properly raise this pet rock? How do you, what do you need to feed it? Or, any other weird gags like that. And it's very interesting, again, that people would buy this. I mean, most parents, well, at least my parents were, like, not really into the idea of me getting, like, collectible cards. So, and that cost, it was relatively cheap, like the little booster packs that I would get. But the pet rock is just gonna sit there and collect dust. So I'm just kind of thrown off by that. But apparently Doll had decided, okay, we're gonna include some, like, tricks that you could teach your pet rock. So, like, sit and stay, where down pat, that pet rock got it. But then there were more difficult tasks. So he honestly really had to sell this idea of this pet rock and how, well, maybe, we could teach the pet rock how to roll over and maybe come stand and shake hands. Like, it's stated here that it was near impossible to teach, but attack was a very simple trick or a command for this pet rock. Because, well, I mean, you can throw the rock. That's kind of an attack. But of course you had to have the pet owner's assistance in this. And it's the same thing with the rollover command. Like, gosh, people put googly eyes on these rocks and, like, weird little covers on them, but they're not included with the pet rocks. You get to dress them up in any way that you want. But you have to be really in on this gag. Now, it was available, let's see, I had mentioned it was available most recently, and it was September 3, 2012. So, they brought back the pet rock, and, well, there we have it. I mean, I'm sure that people really enjoyed having a pet rock. That's fine. But, again, the novelty of it really kind of leaves eventually. And I really doubt that a kid would have that much of an attention span for a rock. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have kids. So maybe someone can prove me wrong. I need stories here of people and their pet rocks. And I mean, especially if you were around when it first came out, I would love to hear, like, different reactions to this. And I mean, I just can't imagine it. There are some things that just, I can accept. But the pet rock and its bizarre rise to popularity is very, very confusing. It's just a rock. But I'm looking over here, and I just want to add something. Like, the official training manual that was included actually was like 32 pages. And that's a lot of pages, a lot of content for training a pet rock. So, I mean, whatever. I just don't know. And, I mean, how can you convince your parents to buy this pet rock? I mean, I guess technically you could possibly use the pet rocks as, like, training for the kids for future pets, but the pet rock doesn't really have much to offer there. I mean, isn't that why parents start off with fish first? Like, having an aquarium, and eventually the fish die, the kid is traumatized, and they go to school crying their eyes out. That was me. Well, maybe the pet rock kind of takes away the trauma, but again, it's the major thing about, like, having pet fish as your initial pet is that, well, you get attached to it. I don't see how you can get attached to a pet rock. And I know I'm just harping on this, but gosh. Now I'm looking at a picture with the googly eyes and stuff, and it looks like they have like a pet rock family. Again, like, okay, you know what? I'll back up. I will say that for individuals that have a very strong affinity to creativity, and ones that are kids that are very imaginative, I guess would be the word. So, I mean, seriously, I had paper dolls, so I should really stop bragging on this, to be honest, but I don't know. Again, I stare at this picture of the googly-eyed pet rocks, and I just can't really reconcile how bizarre it is versus, like, what I consider a reasonable pet. And to be honest, these are they're toys, pretty much, and I can't accept having a pet rock. Maybe in another time when I was younger and this was more exposed to me beforehand, I would totally be on board for it. I would think, at least. But I'm an adult now, and I pay bills, and I kind of consider it to be a very bad misuse of funds, because it sits there. I don't have kids that'll enjoy it. If anything, I could say that those rocks would be a good worry stone. Those kind of rocks that are very smooth, and for individuals that have anxiety, they can like rub their thumb on it and like really help relieve some stress, because I don't know what it is with that smooth surface, but it's very soothing. But anyway, if you want the pet rock, I don't know if they're still selling them right now, but hey, definitely check it out. And, well, I think we should definitely go on a break now, because I need to refresh my mind from, thinking about rocks. So, the next thing we're going to be talking about is going to be Chia Pets. And I'm sure that you guys remember the commercials, and I think that this will be possibly more interesting than the rocks, but I don't know. You can tell me. So we'll be right back after this break.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, and we were just talking about pet rocks, so we're going to move on to Chia Pets. And for a time, I wasn't really sure why they were called Chia Pets, because, well, it didn't really seem like a toy, per se, or a pet. But it says on the website that it's basically the chia sprouts grow into something that resembles animal's fur or hair. So yes, that makes it, that is what it's supposed to be, to make it an animal or a pet. Now, it's very strange, because I do remember when I was in middle school, or late elementary school, there was a lot of commercials for Chia Pets, and I remember specifically one with Bob Ross in it. And I really wanted one, but of course, my family didn't believe in ordering stuff from the TV. So that led to a great mystery to me about what Chia Pets were. And, well, I mean, they're kind of like figurines, pretty much. And it has like different kinds of animals or people that they do. So, for instance, as I said, Bob Ross is included. But there were, Chia Ram, Chia Bulls, Chia Puppy. So those kind of things where they had the figurine shaped like these things or these animals. And, well, the hair or fur would kind of like grow out and make it look even more so the ram or whatever. So, they even have a dinosaur. But, yeah, just kind of looking at this, there were like waves of like releases for them. And like last I see, they have a wave 19 and this was in 2018. So, I mean, they're still kind of like in action right now. So they have like a Chia Deadpool, a Chia Predator, Chia Gremlin, Chia E.T., and some other kinds of animals or people. Which it's very interesting that they've been able to grow their product line based on things that people kind of like. Well, things that people definitely do like. And I'm just kind of impressed for the longevity of it. Let me see. When was this first? 1982 was when I was first marketing a Chia Pet, and it would be called the Chia Ram. So the Ram was the very first Chia Pet to basically hit the market. Now, when it comes to like different types, like there are things called like a Chia Pet Cuddly, and it was basically plush toys with soft fabric like chia fur bodies and stuff. And they would have this little feature. It's not really a feature, but if you pressed its paw, it would like sing the jingle or play the jingle of like chia. You know, that adorable little song. But yeah, they were only like really available during like anniversary periods. So, I mean, it kind of was very limited in stock in comparison to like, you know, Bob Ross or something. And there are also Chia heads, which sounds kind of, you know, daunting or full of doom. And like they include the seeds for like 3 plantings in a drip tray. And it's got more products apparently. Like apparently there were like, let's see, Chia Guy and Chia Professor, Chia Alarm Clock, and a Chia Watch, which is interesting. And then they have a mini Chia Cuddly, which I would love to see. And wowza, they apparently have like trading cards or like let's see. Yeah, it's like an entire deck of Chia playing cards and just, I mean, what kind of games would you play with the Chia cards? Is there like a little booklet that kind of describes what the game is like? Or is it just purely for like trading? Which honestly they probably would have said Chia trading cards instead of playing cards. So I'll probably do like a quick Google search to see what that even looks like, because I am a collector of some sort. But yeah, there were also Chia emojis introduced in like wave 17 out of like the 19. And it was basically like chia heads made into like a glossy yellow sphere, and like they put emoticons with it to just kind of bring a fresher look, something that was a little more up to date with a potential audience. I just find it quite impressive that chia pets have continued to stay relevant for most people. And, well, I mean, they have so much promotional items that it's almost overwhelming, and they have a huge list of different types of chias, and I just, man, it's quite interesting. And like also they have like chia cat grass planters, so I mean that just kind of adds into like, oh, this is definitely for a pet. And honestly, Eisen has ripped off enough of my paperback books that I'm almost tempted to get this chia cat grass planter. So gosh, why have I never heard of that? That sounds actually pretty fun, actually. But yeah, all of this kind of stuff is just adding up to like, it feels like a huge community of people who love chia pets. Like, there were some things that were like recalled, or not even recalled, but like discontinued. And I mean, just how does somebody, well, you know, actually, I've seen people like, well, at least in movies, like talking to their plants and, you know, watering them, giving them like a little pep talk or something like that. And I guess maybe chia pets are like that too for some people. I mean, I don't really like talking to people a lot of the times because I'm an introvert, but I mean, I do find myself talking to inanimate objects just because. So, I mean, I could have probably enjoyed chia pets. I mean, I remember when I was little, I actually desperately wanted one of these, and whenever the commercials came on and I'd see it, I was just so enthralled by it. I mean, I remember them doing like a hedgehog at one point, and I was like, I want this hedgehog. And I never got it. But this is kind of a reminder to me that, hey, I'm a grown adult. I can order it myself. Don't even have to ask for permission from mom or dad. So, I'll probably be looking into this more, but like, there's so many, like a lot of kind of novelty stuff, if I could say that. But see, there is like a Chia Obama determined, Chia Obama happy, Chia Washington, and it even goes all the way down to Chia Donald Trump, which was released in the 17th wave. Which, okay, great for him. Great for all of these people. Oh, they even have Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. So, they definitely have done, you know, a lot of work for this product, and I can definitely appreciate that. I mean, honestly, it kind of sounds better than, you know, playing with rocks. Like, for the chia pet, you're actually really taking care of this little living thing. So, I mean, for the most part, I'll say that a lot of people could probably learn a lot, especially if they are new to, you know, owning pets. This might be a good practice for being regular about food and water and sunlight, all that kind of stuff, which, I mean, we do that a lot for our pets. We don't do that a lot for us. So I guess that most of the time I just try not to think about it. And at this point, it feels like a meme. It's just kind of, you know, my opinion on that. It feels like a meme, and it's something that people kind of play around and enjoy, but they don't take chia pets seriously. And what is there to take seriously? It's, you know, its main focus is to be fun and teach valuable lessons to individuals when it comes to like helping others and nurturing people. But now I want a chia pet. I want one of Bernie Sanders. That'd be very interesting. But anyway, we are coming up on our next break, and well, this is going to be a very bizarre one, but it is called the pet ham that is still edible, apparently. But let's take a break and we'll get to talking about that.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Again, and well, we were talking about chia pets and pet rocks, and I figured, well, why don't we try something a little more interesting? And that would be the world's oldest ham, which happens to be a pet. Yes, you heard me right. Like, it doesn't even matter what the dog looks like as long as it looks cared for. And just sometimes dogs aren't properly leash trained, and you have to be paranoid about that. Just saying. And, well, let's see. We're talking about the story behind the world's oldest pet ham. And this was like in 2018 when he wrote it. But just, it's very interesting to see like how the soldiers never really got to see their loved ones during this time period, unless they, were shut up, so yeah. They were completely taken care of. And I guess that's great. It's definitely a way for them to add to their numbers and, scrutinize them to see their capability. But it's kind of like a travesty that, well, I imagine that spiders could probably be more beneficial to talk about, not undermining schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, borderline personality, like all those. This is completely aside from this one towel that we always have. And, well, nice little cloth and only for cleaning. So, for many people, it's just kind of a joke, and they'll claim that they don't want to expose you of what you're saying. So, it's just easy to delete any tweets on Twitter and move on with your life. But, yeah, I just kind of wish that I wish with all my might that this was written and produced by people of color. And I don't sorry, I'm just kind of like frustrated by this thing. But I will go ahead and say that There is definitely more than meets the eye here. So, a lot of the times, the couple of this article is kind of at odds sometimes, especially when it comes to pets. Her husband was basically saying that there's nothing useful in the box, and, well, if you guys have heard my story elsewhere, well, I would be in a very different place right now. But, yeah, I just kind of wish that more and more people would be aware of this. Like, people forget that retail workers and cooks and cashiers, they are essentially they're eventually a part of this huge story of like racism and classism, which again, I'm not going to really talk about. I could probably write a blog post about it eventually, but I just don't understand. They're not, pets cannot say that they don't want something, but they will trust you if you gave them that impression that you were not there to cause problems. Well, I mean, who would assume that a child's mind would be so, carefree, I guess? Because for a long time I had noticed that Anthony Jr. from, like, The Sopranos was just kind of withdrawing, and eventually he started writing, and, I mean, that really does continue the overall problem that Tony Soprano faces. And I just kind of wish that the part of the story was removed. I think that it's detrimental to true discussion. And, well, I mean, it could be worse. I mean, I am happy that I do not have to worry about, like, a breathing machine or anything like that. I am just happy that I potentially have a pet ham. And for real, this guy here had multiple kinds of animals, and I believe that there may have been, like, larger animals too. But alas, I need to look into that more, honestly. And again, I always want to emphasize that you should always be questioning and doubting and responding to the world around you. Because, well, I mean, you can't bottle everything up inside. And that's something I had to learn. But either way, I'm just kind of happy that things are working out for me, and also just, I mean, they have presented a very interesting pet that I can't really place. Maybe just because it's a ham and I don't see it as much of danger unless it's undercooked. I mean, I'm fine with this weird robot cyborg maid or whatever, or housekeeper, yeah, we'll say that. But I just kind of want to run down some things that maybe you've heard about. And gosh, I wish that the internet was working okay with me. But yeah, there were a lot of people that, for the most part, weren't a fan of Winston Churchill, and also were very pro Churchill. So I think that maybe there needs to be a lot more evaluating of what sources we get from like other parties, and I don't want to really call anyone out on this, but these things kind of pass. Like, I'll say that for me and my siblings, we never got along when I was like in undergrad, but now they are actually displaying empathy for me, and it just felt like true solidarity. And another thing is that the both of them were insistent that the slaves would give up something of theirs. And when I went to bed that night, well, the stockings were kind of taken care of, and the room was immaculate. I don't know. How does an individual like my husband manage to stay so calm in different situations? I'm just kind of wowed by it, to be honest. Now, Pet Ham is I don't even know, did he provide a name for Pet Crab? Now I need to look this up. But yeah, overall, just, you need to do your due diligence and really try to be educated in what you're kind of, asking for. Now, I do want to add on this little piece of information, but apparently this guy's ham was 116 years old. Yes, officially the world's oldest ham. And that's so strange. Why would someone have a pet? I don't even know. I just can't believe it. But, we're going to take another break, and, well, maybe I can find more information on, pet hams in particular. But, hey, it's fine. Everything's fine. But we are going to be talking next about something from my childhood, and I imagine some of you might be familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, in games around the 2000s, they had something that was essentially a pet, but also kind of like a baby. But we will get to talking to that after the commercial break.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then, the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
We are back, and I really, really, really want to talk about this. Now, we were talking about this weird thing with a pet ham, and I figured I should just kind of go back a little bit to something a little normal, because, well, just Chow is like a digital pet for the most part, but I do want to kind of give some general information. So this first came from the Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure games from since I was maybe 9 or 10, somewhere around that. And well, I figured that in this game there are definitely examples of being of these little creatures being a pet for the most part, because, well, you can go to a specific little nursery and you can hatch these eggs and take care of them. So for the most part, you are spending time feeding them, rocking them, and just kind of teaching them some interesting tricks. And a lot of the time it's just they are developing these skills and transforming based on how well you treat them or how poorly you treat them. And I've seen a lot of interesting chow just kind of being posted online, and I have to say that it's interesting to play with these little creatures, but I figure I should probably let you know what it looks like. So it's like a very, very small little round thing with like a very pointed head with a little dot at the top, which kind of acts as like a signal for what they need. And that's kind of where you start really working with these with this little chow. And like for different characters, they will start transforming, maybe based on your own character that you're playing. So it might look like Sonic the Hedgehog. It might look like Knuckles the Echidna, or let's see what else. Amy Rose, those characters. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. Sometimes you want to treat them really well, and then you might want to have the villains having chow of their own that look like them. So it's kind of like a hard, I wouldn't say hard, but I mean, you have to kind of think about morality in this. Like, to get an evil chow, you would have to throw it around and kick it and, make it cry all the time. And, well, then, of course, you're denying them, like, anything that'll make them happy. Or, it could potentially be abusive. And, for the most part, you either can get, like, an evil chow, or your chow will just disappear. So that's kind of what is at stake here. And you can definitely get different things that will help your chow grow while you're playing the game. So there might be little sticks of life that has like different types of energy that you can give to your chow. Or, again, you could just feed it little coconuts and it'll be really happy. But overall, when you're taking care of the chow, it's a very long process of raising them. Like, eventually, after maybe hatching it, you might find your little guy just kind of swimming around. And like most of the time when they are hatched, they don't really know how to do much. Like they're crawling and they're crying a lot, and of course they can't swim. They're very sensitive. All of this kind of stuff just really, if you're not a parent, it will get very frustrating. Or if you're not a pet owner, that can also get very frustrating too. Because, well, there's like a level of patience that you have to put into this. And it goes the same for, real life pets. So, in this case, for chow, you really are kind of walking a fine line of like nurturing and abuse. So I don't condone people abusing the chow. I know that they are not real things, but just watching someone like completely act like a jerk online and you see their face, it's it really sticks with you. But I'd say for now, like, in, like, future games of Sonic the Hedgehog, there's probably going to be more of an inclusion of more chow. And just kind of developing kind of like parenting skills and nurturing skills. Because, well, I feel like that's kind of what the game is getting at. It's also kind of like a break from like the craziness of what the game kind of is, because the game itself is very fast paced, but the chow are just very nice, slow. They have very soothing music in their little nurseries and stuff, and then you get to have kind of a break. You get to watch them, like, even take a nap. So I think that for, just as the same as teaching your dog how to sit and, shake hands, all that kind of stuff, I can imagine that, it's been a while since I played it, but I can imagine that it gives you the same feeling, with the chow, like being able to see them grow up and, I wouldn't say become adults because they don't really change that much unless you are targeting different traits of them. But again, it's kind of all up to you and your path of morality. And you can definitely say that most of the time when people are posting online, the different chow that they have, you kind of have to wonder, it's well, this little pet of yours, what have you done to make it this certain way? But it's all about nurturing and giving it love, which is something that people should be doing with their pets, but also just patience. And again, that's something that, you learn with pets, most definitely. And I just kind of get really miffed whenever people just abuse them. And I imagine that, again, chow will continue to be appearing and reappearing in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. And, I mean, there's even a show for Sonic, which is Sonic X, and they have a main character that is a chow. It doesn't speak English, but it's taken care of, and it's essentially like a baby and like a pet. So I can imagine more people falling in love with chow, especially if they are invested in the franchise of Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't mean that you are going to instantly want to pick up the games, but you will at least be kind of awed by how cute they are, because they are cute. And also, they're not real. So, it kind of goes into this is a bizarre pet because, it's kind of like, Tamagotchi and other games like that where you have this little, digital pet that you have to take care of, you have to monitor, and for some people, it's kind of a challenge. I've seen so many people online, and then also, when they were, a thing years back, there were just some people who would say, oh my gosh, my pet died, and then they have to start over, and just, it's a very interesting perspective, and kind of low stakes for individuals so that they can learn more and more about how to be nurturing rather than succeeding no matter what. Because that's not really what, pet ownership is. It's trial and error. It's asking for help. It's asking for advice. And it's just being kind and appreciating your pet for what they are. But as usual, we are going to be moving on to our next segment. And, I mentioned this, in the beginning. And basically, dolls. Because, let's face it, there are a lot of children that anthropomorphize dolls and treat them as if they are living things. And I just kind of find that an interesting take on what bizarre pets are. So, we are going to take this break and, enjoy the minutes or so? Alright, we'll be right back.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. And we were just talking about a digital pet called Chow from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. So I kind of figured that we could move on to something that maybe more people can kind of relate to, especially as children. Like, parents, for the most part, gave their children like different kinds of toys to play with, and it, depending on how open-minded some parents were, you could definitely see like boys and girls getting like pet dolls. Like, as in, I had a pet cat doll that I absolutely adored, and for me, like, I would pet it. This is when I was like under 10 years old. But yeah, I would pet this little cat. I would brush it, and also, I mean, just kind of carried around, snuggled it in bed. And at some point, I was like, let's experiment and let's put some lipstick on you. And I stole my mom's lipstick, and then the cat doll looked like it had basically eaten something, and the blood of it was kind of like on its mouth. So yeah, that's a fun thing about being a kid. But yeah, there are a lot of children and even adults now that have these dolls that for them it's like, well, gonna take care of it, gonna have a name for it. Like, my cat pet toy was named Morgana, and I forget where I got that name from, but it was from a show that I had watched before. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a primer to owning a real pet, because, well, these dolls don't really die. They get worn out, and, you know, they might be replaced if mom and dad decide, okay, well, this is gross, and we're going to move this into the trash can, which then leads to traumatized kids that don't understand why their toy was taken away. And it gets intense how attached kids can be with these dolls. And I mean, again, I would sleep with this little cat toy for, you know, well, every single night until I was given another doll, and Morgana disappeared mysteriously. But yeah, I just kind of wish that parents would be a little bit more understanding and kind of encourage this nurturing thing. And a lot of kids, particularly targeting young girls, like, there are different toys that they can play that allows them to develop some nurturing skills. Like, you know, those baby dolls that you could like feed them with like a bottle, and like some of them even like pooped too, and you had to change their diaper. And at some point it's like, I see how you can develop these skills, but it's kind of gross that you have to clean up toy poop. And it's not like real poop. It's, you know, it's plastic. But again, it's just kind of like, why would you want to do that? It's to be frank, it's, you know, pushing gender roles on kids that are still really trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be as they grow up. But these are politics, gender politics that we don't really need to get into. But I have never seen a boy actually have some toy pet that really allows them to express this nurturing that I imagine is innate in basically everybody. It's just, well, the nurturing personality needs to be nurtured. And it's important for, like, dolls in particular to let a child, like learn more about, well, just how to behave like a human being, what is rational. And again, it's like pets, like especially for, just giant dogs or teddy bears, rabbits, all that kind of stuff. Like, we are given as children, like, different ways to perceive how to treat someone. And I just kind of am, I am just really amazed at my own experience and how bad I was at nurturing this one little cat. I mean, who puts lipstick on a cat? No, Eisen, I'm not going to put lipstick on you. I'm not. I promise. But, yeah, it's just treat things the way that you know they should be treated. And you look at dolls as like property, but you still have to consider, well, if I don't take care of it, it's gonna go away. It's the same thing with people too. If you treat someone poorly, they're going to go away, and that's just kind of a reality. So, you know what? I advocate children having some sort of stuffed animal that they have to take care of for an extended period of time with encouragement from parents, because that's a huge thing that really kind of helps an individual become a better person, or at least that's, I'm just kind of like spitballing here, right now, and I just kind of want to see, at least some of that for boys in particular, or maybe non-binary people. I just kind of wish that we weren't so stuck in the tradition of gender roles that are potentially damaging to individuals. But neither here nor there. I'm talking about pets. But yeah, one of the biggest things I can definitely say is that another pet toy doll that I had was like Fievel. I don't know if you guys remember Fievel, the little mouse from Europe, and he made this he was basically doing a like a Home Alone kind of scenario where he's like basically separated from his family and he is lost and he has to fend for himself and become a stronger individual. Like, I think that is definitely a role model, an imaginary role model that really helps kids. And for this particular doll that I had, it was for the movie, like, Fievel Goes West, or something like that. And when you combine, like, the story, that could be a movie, could be a book, anything like that, and then you combine it with, like, the actual doll, you then have, like, a narrative that, kind of helps kids just get a better understanding of the world, and again, like, so they can develop their identity, like, slowly, because honestly, when you're younger, it's difficult to really create a true, authentic identity for them. And I'm sorry, I'm navel gazing right now because, well, that's unfortunately what grad school students had to do for a very long period of time. But again, it's very important to just encourage, through dolls, that, hey, this is how you're going to learn how to treat other people. Because I can guarantee you, if a parent got you a nice little doll that was expensive, kind of unreasonably priced, like, they would get upset if you at all damaged it. And that's the reality. That's learning respect for other people. And in the case of the doll, respecting the doll too. Which, again, I just want to say that there's no problem in, like, adults having dolls in particular. It's still something that, they can really have as a reminder of where they came from. And that is why I believe pets and dolls can be a thing. So, we are going to take our final break, and, well, I'm just going to be able to talk about this one final thing that kind of tickles me, and kind of something that I need to get for Regina in particular. But we will talk more about that after the commercial break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back. I hope you missed me, because I missed you too. For the single minute. But, we were just talking about, dolls being pets and just kind of bizarre pets in general. But, things we don't really consider to be pets, but, actually turn out to be them. But now I wanted to kind of slow it down and talk about this thing that I really want to get for Regina. And when I say this, I'm mostly thinking about when she was a little puppy, 4 months old. She had the softest and pinkest little paw pads, and it was so adorable. But, naturally, as she got older, she, was outside more, and she was playing more, and, digging and stuff, and, of course, that makes it, it makes it difficult to keep, the soft little pads. So now Regina's little paw pads look like, they kind of have yellow on them. I don't really know why. They're very rough, and I just miss the soft paw pads. I mean, Cookie she doesn't have the really rough paw pads, actually. She is extremely soft, and it just kind of shows how much of an indoor dog she is. Also, when Eisen was frequently leaving my mom's house, he would come back with his paws looking very, very cracked and very dry. But as he has kind of settled down into curmudgeon old man kind of deal, his pads have also, his little beans, just kind of softened up, and, now it's, just a nice, soft little bits that he gives us. So this kind of brings me to something that I really, really want to get. And when I was talking about the Amazon, shopping with your pets, I ran into something that I didn't mention before, but it's something called a paw balm. So kind of like lip balm, but for, your pet's paw. So there are different types available, and I intend on looking at different reviews to see which one is best, but basically paw balms, help prevent damage to the skin on your pet's paw pads. And it actually really does work to soothe and repair different sores that could be on their feet. And it's also great in, helping with damaged and cracked pads. And it is something that has very important healing and moisturizing properties. So because of that, because I was just kind of interested in that, Regina is a sweet girl. She needs to be dressed up like a little sweet girl. She needs to, channel her girl power. So I'm intending on finding like some sort of paw balm, and probably just kind of seeing where it goes. Like, will she ever have those soft paws again? I really don't think so. But I think that we can make it less, I don't want to say like ugly, but like just kind of reviving her little paws. I mean, that's reasonable, right? I don't, especially after she hurt her little claw, I just, there are things that I want to start taking care of because, well, I want to extend her life as much as I can. Because, well, if your pet has sores on them, then, there's a chance that it will start, getting like an infection, which then starts damaging, other parts of their body, and then, well, the lifespan of your pet, is, starts to get limited. So anything that I can to really, make, Regina's life like very worthwhile, I really want to try. So I am going to see, like, probably later tonight, what kind of products are the best for her. Because, well, honestly, she hits me with her paw sometimes, and it's just so rough that it kind of scratches up my arm. And I'm kind of tired of that. But, then she also is the type of dog that will stand on top of you with her full weight pressing down on the single foot that is resting upon you. I actually have a giant bruise from that. But I like it when she hops up on me, but it's just kind of a very difficult thing to deal with. But yeah, I just kind of wish that we had been more conscientious about her paw pads when we first got her. And, there are other things that we needed to worry about, like, a potty training and teaching different kinds of tricks, well, commands, for sure. Teaching her to walk on a leash, differentiating places that she should use the bathroom at and places that she should not. So a lot of that kind of stuff just kind of falls on the wayside. The paw pad stuff, fell to the wayside, and then, well, we never got around to it. But I'm trying to think what triggered this for me. I honestly think I saw somebody else's feet. It's summertime and people are wearing flip-flops and stuff, and I just saw someone's feet and it was dry, cracked, and then I just started oddly thinking about Regina and how, wow, she has some kind of ugly looking feet right now. So, it's still very cute, but, there are ways that we can, like, help her maintain and continue to have healthy paws. And that's something that, a lot of owners, really need to do. I just kind of wonder if people really kind of pay attention to that at all. I also do remember that Rhodey had, like, the really rough pads too. So it kind of makes me think that, at least from our experience with other pet owners with larger dogs, well, it's kind of like neglected, I think. Because, well, honestly, with cats and also small dogs, you don't really run into that kind of stuff. Because again, like, they don't really like to, well, they like going outside, but they don't really spend all that time, being as active as Regina is. So I definitely want to do some changes for Regina, again, to help with her, essentially her own care. And, well, who knows, maybe I'll be able to have those soft little pink beans again. I would love that. Gosh. Taking care of pets is very, very exhausting sometimes. And, it kind of falls into like it's not all about you kind of deal. Like, okay, I'm tired, but maybe Regina is, feeling sick, or maybe, back to the claw thing, like, some people would just flat out ignore that and say, oh, it'll get better. And I think I know people who have done that before. And if your nail or the tip of your finger was cut off or split in half, would you go to the doctor? Probably yes. Hopefully yes, because chances are you might lose that finger. Same concept when it comes to your pets. So I would definitely say if you would do it for yourself, then you should do it for your pets. So, I have my own skincare routine, and, well, Regina needs her own skincare routine. Or else, who knows, maybe her paws will get, dried and cracked and have sores on them. I do not want that to happen to my little girl. So, anyway, I am just about kind of exhausted by the idea of people neglecting the needs of their pets. And, well, I imagine, I should kind of be an example, maybe, of being aware of, like, any injuries and all that kind of stuff. Because, well, let's face it, our pets don't really show that they're in pain until they are in serious pain. And that's just kind of the natural thing. It's, muscling through it. And, well, I mean, Regina didn't even complain to us. She wasn't crying to us when her claw split. So, it's, until we started trying to, like, clean it. So, it's on us to take care of our pets the best that we can. And, well, I think that's about it. I'm probably gonna, probably tonight order some paw balm and see what that happens. I know that right now mail is going quite slowly, like in delivery, but I think we have time. I'm definitely not gonna use my human, whipped cream. It's a whipped cream kind of, lotion thing. It's very cool. But, I definitely cannot use that on her because, well, it's not made for dogs. And I think that if I were to, get this balm for her, it would be, kind of like a nice grooming experience for her. And I can't lie, I like that idea. But anyway, I want to thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Pets Podcast, and we are brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm going to ask quite nicely. Please, oh please, oh please, just subscribe and review. We love feedback from our listeners. And also, join in on the fun. Well, just check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have all kinds of pictures and videos of, pets being pets, animals being animals, and maybe even, like, your people, like, just kind of hanging out with their animals. And, those are always very sweet pictures, right? Anyway, thank you so much, and I want you to have a wonderful night.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.